I'm telling you, Bernie Sanders has officially jumped the shark. Yeah, because that was him in sort of his, shall we say, Howard Dean moment or his Fonzie moment. You know, when, you remember when Dean let out that infamous scream, the one by which the country realized he just wasn't fit for the presidency, or when, you know, Fonzie jumped over the shark in Happy Days and it was kind of all over after that. This is that moment for Senator Sanders. He has jumped the shark by exposing the world to his selfish stupidity, by refusing to state the obvious, by refusing to admit that the socialist he considers his bud is nothing more than a brutal dictator. Bernie Sanders is refusing to call a man that has taken 5 American hostages, all fathers and grandfathers, and has held them for more than 450 days while killing dozens of protesters, including 2 more today who tried to cross the border into Brazil to get some food and medicine. He jails and tortures thousands of political prisoners, including some of the people that you have met on this very show, uses intimidation tactics, and courts bad guys like drug traffickers and Hezbollah terrorists. This is a man that manipulates elections by threatening to withhold basic human necessities like food or medicine for anyone who dares to cast a vote against him. This is a man who stole the election and a man who the entire free world refuses to recognize as the true president of Venezuela. And yet Bernie Sanders, he refuses to admit that he's a dictator. Come on. We've got a real problem in this world, I'll tell you, when we fail to see right from wrong, when we fail to see and understand a humanitarian crisis for what it is, all because there's some elaborate version of socialism which politicians like this one, Bernie Sanders, have fallen in love with. Back here on planet Earth, we know what socialism does, we know. And we know what Chavez and Maduro have done. And if you're okay with all that, then, you know, Bernie, if you're okay with that, America, all of us, have a real problem with you. But here's the good news, everyone. He'll never be president. Absolutely not. He has definitely, tonight, jumped the shark. Joining me right now for more, former senior advisor to George W. Bush, Mr. Brad Blakeman. Brad, I think this is that moment. Like Fonzie, like Howard Dean. I mean, this is a guy who is unwilling to say Nicolas Maduro is a dictator.
Look, Bernie's had many moments, but this is the coup de grace of supporting a dictator who's starving his people, who's killed his people, who is holding on to power by a thread. Bernie can't see that his regime is over. Bernie can't see that he's denying aid coming into his country and hurting his people. The only reason why Bernie won't throw the towel in is because he then will have to admit that socialism is a failure. Well, we know socialism is a failure. We don't need Venezuela as an example. There have been many, many other socialist attempts that have been utter disasters in Bernie's lifetime. Bernie's a gadfly. He'll always be a gadfly. If you're for something, Bernie will always be against it. He spent decades.
He's a selfish guy, then. If you ask me.
Selfish. By the way, he's rich. He has 3 homes. He made over $1 million a year.
Yeah, Nicolas Maduro has got billions tucked away as
Absolutely.
well. Absolutely.
That's his bud.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I find very disturbing, because I don't know how you can look at the pictures that we've seen, whether it's the marches in the street with the hundreds of thousands of people saying they want and they need change, whether it's the babies that are being kept in cardboard boxes and laundry baskets in maternity wards in Caracas because they don't have incubators. So many kids are dying. They don't have the bassinets that you would put a child in. They don't even have the gloves so that they can perform an emergency C-section. They don't have anything there. They don't even have running water the majority of time in these hospitals. And Bernie Sanders is willing to look the other way and say, let them figure it out when they can't figure it out because the guy that's given them a box of food to feed their family for 2 weeks is saying you have to vote for me?
I mean, this is the same Bernie Sanders who believes we should have open borders for people to come flooding into our country illegally, who supports sanctuary cities. It's a life of contradiction and exception for people like Bernie Sanders. He's more akin to be the Secretary General of the UN than the President of the United States.
I don't think he is, because I don't think he's smart enough. I think he's a selfish man who does not have a whole lot of brain cells in there, because you don't talk like that and not admit what's going on right in front of you, Brad. Oh, this breaks my heart. It really does. It breaks my heart to see these little tiny babies, some of them so badly nourished because their mothers don't have food and they don't have the ability to feed them. And this is a hospital maternity ward in Caracas that we're showing you. Bernie needs to see that.
Why doesn't it break Bernie's heart? What does he not see that we all see? Why can't he stand up if he's supposed to be the champion of the oppressed to see the kind of misery that socialism has brought what was once a very prosperous country? No, Bernie's not fit to be president of the United States. No way.
He's done. I predict it. He's not going to get very far. He really isn't. Nor is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, for that matter. But nonetheless, there are those, before I go, there are those that are fascinated with this ideal. Amazing, right? Because, hundreds of thousands of people are marching in the streets in Venezuela, begging for the opportunity for capitalism and for democracy. You're looking at a hospital there. They don't have any running water, but they've got plenty of leaks that they can't fix. Brad, it's a very different situation. They're begging for capitalism and freedom and open markets, while you have many young people here in America today that are saying, no, forget all that. We want Bernie. We want AOC. What do the young people that are supporting this, and old if they're out there, need to know?
They need to wake up and understand that America, we have nothing to apologize for. We're the light and beacon, as Ronald Reagan said, of that shining city on the hill. America's there to help. We're the most generous country in the world. But give us an opportunity to help. Bernie won't even let us help. They're denying humanitarian efforts that the United States has offered in many other countries, blockading roads and bridges. Bernie's on the wrong side of history here.
You are right. You are right, and that's why I predict he's done. Brad Blakeman, thank you so much. It's good to see you.